Imagine receiving news that your body has a tumor, a stranger growing silently inside you. What would you do? Seek doctor's surgery, chemotherapy, or maybe silence? This is the story of Lucas, a fictional name, but what he lived was real, a 21-day fast. Water, prayer, meditation, and a diagnosis that simply disappeared. It seems like a miracle, but today science begins to understand what the spirit already knew. Get ready, because this story might change how you see the power of the human body and soul. On the first morning, Lucas woke up different, not afraid, not strong, a kind of sacred emptiness. He knew it would be hard, but something inside said, "You will not starve, you will be reborn." The first decision was practical: stop eating completely only. Mineral water, about 3 to 4 liters a day. He chose no teas, broths, or juices, only pure water, to let his body enter ketosis faster, where the body stops using glucose and uses fat and ketone bodies, according to studies published in Cell Metabolism. After 48 to 72 hours of fasting, the liver produces ketone bodies. These ketone bodies do not feed tumor cells. Most tumors depend on glucose to survive, so by fasting, Lucas was silently starving the tumor. He also activated BDNF, a brain protein that grows during fasting, protecting neurons and improving focus and clarity. On the second day, hunger came like a wave. The body asked for food, but Lucas knew it was not real hunger, it was habit, the brain craving routine. He closed his eyes, put a hand on his stomach, and whispered, "You are not dying, you are healing." The third day was the hardest: dizziness, headache, emotions on edge. The body, used to coffee, sugar, and flour, now had to clean years of stored toxins. It was like a deep cleaning inside, and every deep cleaning begins with mess. He spent long hours in silence, meditating, remembering old traumas, crying without knowing why. Fasting was not only moving the body, it was stirring the soul. Lucas remembered Psalm 1:39, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my thoughts." He felt that at that moment, not only the tumor was being searched, but his whole life. At the end of the third day, hunger vanished, replaced by deep calm. My body entered ketosis, he wrote in his diary, but my soul found peace. What would come next would surprise even the doctors. From the fourth day, Lucas stopped counting hours. Hunger was gone. Now the body spoke less, and the soul screamed inside. He wrote in his diary, "My stomach is calm, but my heart is being stirred." On days 5, 6, and 7, something curious happened. His sense of smell became hypersensitive. He could smell fruit meters away. His hearing was sharper. The sound of wind, birds, and footsteps seemed amplified. His mind was clear. Thoughts came without turbulence. It was like a mental fog had lifted. Science explains during fasting, BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, increases, improving brain plasticity, meaning you think better, feel more, and perceive the world with more clarity. Insulin levels dropped drastically, allowing deep cellular repair. Studies from the New England Journal of Medicine show that after 5 days of fasting, the body increases stem cell production, which favors tissue regeneration, including damaged tissue. On the 8th day, Lucas had a dream. He was in a desert walking alone and heard a soft voice saying, "You are not alone." He woke with tears in his eyes. He could not say if it was fasting fatigue or a greater presence. In Exodus 34, Moses fasted 40 days, and when he came down from the mountain, his face shone. The text does not explain why, but maybe fasting is like lighting a lamp inside the soul, and the light inside starts to show outside between days 8 and 14. Lucas noticed his belly deflated, pains disappeared, stools stopped common and prolonged. Fasting breath became strong, a sign of deep ketosis, and the tumor seemed to vanish to the touch. It was as if his body was reabsorbing what no longer belonged, but the deepest change was not in the tumor. It was in old memories he began remembering. Childhood forgotten wounds, unresolved traumas, and for the first time he forgave himself, others, and life. He wrote, "Fasting is making me return not to the body I had, but to the person I was before the pain." Day 21, 3 weeks without food, no solid food, no sugar, no distraction, only water, only silence. But that silence was different. It was the silence of a soul at peace. The body was lighter, eyes brighter, and what seemed impossible at first now seemed natural. Lucas no longer fasted out of fear, but out of gratitude. Something inside was rebuilt, not only the tumor, but his way of seeing life. Anxiety gave way to presence, haste became prayer, hunger became wisdom. 3 days after ending the fast with careful medical supervision and rehydration, Lucas took the exam again, same place, same room, same machine, but a completely different man. The doctor looked at him cautiously and said, "You did what?" Lucas smiled and answered, "I just stopped feeding everything that harmed me." The exam report came 2 days later. No visible tumor, only a small scar, no inflammation, no signs of abnormal growth. The doctor wrote, "Spontaneous lesion regression. Recommends clinical follow-up. This is not magic. It is biology applied with discipline." According to research from the University of California, prolonged fasting promotes apoptosis, programmed suicide of abnormal cells. In deep fasting environments, cancer cells that depend on glucose collapse. Also, autophagy activates macrophages, immune cells that literally eat damaged cells. The body, when given the chance, knows how to heal. Isaiah 58 says, "Is not this the fast? I have chosen to loose the chains of injustice, to undo the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free." Sometimes the tumor is not only in the body, but in memories, guilt, and lifestyle. Fasting heals not only the flesh, it frees the soul. Lucas continued medical follow-up, never abandoned science, but never returned to live on autopilot. He changed his diet, habits, choices, but above all, he changed his consciousness, because sometimes to rebirth the body, the soul must fast first. Lucas did not become enlightened, nor a guru, nor did he abandon medicine, but he understood that sometimes what the body lacks is what life has too much of too. Much stimulation, too much food, too much noise, and not enough pause. The fast that made the tumor disappear was not only absence of food, it was his full presence with himself, body, mind, and spirit on the same path in silence. Science no longer denies the benefits of fasting, but it does not promise miracles. Every body is unique. Every history is different, and prolonged fasting requires serious supervision. Clinics like True North Health Center in the USA have monitored patients for decades with protocols based on real studies. In 2023, the journal Nature reviews endocrinology. Reinforced supervised fasts promote cellular regeneration, metabolic improvement, and immune balance. In other words, it is not magic. It is body wisdom respected with caution. Before starting his mission, Jesus fasted 40 days in the desert, not to prove strength, but to listen. Maybe what we lack today is not more information, but less distraction. Lucas' story is not a movie script. It is real, but it is not for imitation. It is for inspiration, to remind us that the body was created with intelligence. and that the soul, when it finds silence, knows exactly the way home. What about you? Have you ever felt the call to stop and listen to your body? Share your story anonymously. If you want, like this video, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear this, because sometimes a pause can be the beginning of a miracle.